Noah Basketball is our new presenting sponsor of our Coaching You podcast. Noah Basketball is a shot tracking and data company that has helped change how coaches and players perfect the game's most important skill, shooting. Noah is a data service provider that uses machine learning and the latest computer vision technology to provide real-time data and feedback to improve shooting accuracy and consistency for professional and amateur basketball players. Noah has now analyzed over 570 million shots from countless high school, hundreds of college teams, and 28 NBA franchises. The technology is simply amazing. Once the system has been installed, players will be able to get immediate feedback on their shooting arc, left and right positioning, depth, makes or misses, and makes the data available to players and coaches on your mobile device. For more information about how Noah can help your team, visit noahbasketball.com. Hey, welcome to another Coaching You podcast with the Coach Brendan Suhr, presented by Noah Basketball, our newest sponsor. I've coached basketball now for 50 years. 45 years ago this month, actually this week, I started with the Atlanta Hawks in the NBA. But I have found over the years that if you don't adapt, you're in trouble. If you don't keep learning, you're in trouble. So just like I found with my NBA players, the really great ones you either played against or coached, found out that they, in the offseason, always brought something back and improved their game. And that's what I think we need to do as coaches. You know, Zach and I, for years with Coaching You, have been on a mission to how to grow and improve coaching. That's our whole purpose now on a worldwide basis, is how do we help coaches get better? It's not just saying I want to get better. Sure, we've done the Coaching You Plus, our app, to give you amazing learning, not from me, from everyone that we have relationships with, the best coaches in the world, from everywhere. And that's one way, study and get better. But what I thought today is really X's and O's are so important. Strategy, the technical aspects, so meaningful. But I want to share with you the things that I think that you can totally control, and that's yourself. And what do you do? And so this session is going to be devoted simply to me coaching you. And that was the whole purpose when we formed the company. It was a play on words. Sure, Coaching You University, love it. Great. We have faculty members. All the coaches that are on our podcast or speak at our clinics, they're faculty members. We have fun with it. But now the play on words was me coaching you. And I think this is what it's all about. So here we go. Get your notebook out, okay? And if you don't have your notebook out, when you replay this podcast, this is all notebook intensive for you to write. Number one, I've never coached basketball. I coach people. I don't coach basketball. Sure, it's important. Do I know X and O? Am I proud of my X's and O's? Am I technically, some people think a savant or whatever, offensively? That's cool. That's great. But the biggest thing is, it doesn't matter how much I know. It's how I can connect with the players that I have. So that's number one. My friend, the great Ernie Johnson from TNT, he says it so well. As coaches, we don't have a got-to job. We have a get-to job. We get to coach. There's nothing in the world I think is better, maybe other than being a parent of your own children, than to coach. It's a got-to job, and I absolutely love it. My purpose today is simply to do two things. Number one, I want to make you think. Don't sit here and say, you know what, he's full of shit. Oh, I don't want. No, I just want to make you think. You don't have to buy in. This is not a cult. I just want to make you think about how you're coaching and can you get better. So number one, I want to make you think. Number two, I want to help you maximize your talent and your potential, just like you would with a player. That is our purpose at Coaching You with Yourself. Every morning when I get up and we get started, I ask myself 2 questions. Every day, still, after all the years of doing this, because it gets me going each day. What am I doing to develop myself? Personally, professionally. I have to, if I'm not trying to get better, how am I supposed to help anyone? And then the second thing, and this is really the purpose of you as a coach, what are you doing to develop others? Coaching is a leadership position. As an assistant coach, as a head coach. So you focus on yourself. What are you doing to get better? And then the second, and more, I think really more important, what are you doing to develop and help others get better? 2 questions that you must ask the players and coaches that you work with. I do this every time that I work with a team. I coach a team, work with CEOs, business leaders. I ask the people I'm working with 2 questions. Number 1, are you coachable? Are you coachable, the person that you're coaching? By asking them this question, I think we estimated about 3 months ago that I've asked over 7,500 people this question. Business, basketball. Are you coachable? I've never had one person, not one, say, no, they're not coachable. Second question, can I be truthful with you? Same results. No one has ever said, no, lie to me. Don't be truthful. This is so important. So now when I've asked these 2 questions, they've told me they're coachable, which means they want to improve. And the second one, they want me to be truthful with them. They don't want me to bullshit them, lie to them, or anything like that. The biggest problem we have with the young people today, and I go young people from NBA, college, high school, AAU, etc., middle school coaches, everyone, is they mistake adult coaching as being criticized. I'm criticizing them. No, I'm being truthful. I'm giving you immediate feedback, but now the tone in which you deliver it is very important. It can be misconstrued as criticism. If you're yelling and screaming at the top of your lungs when a player makes a mistake, I understand why they feel that way. So I just want to, 2 questions you must ask your players. Are you coachable? And number 2, can I be truthful with you? I think you'll find those to be very powerful. Before every season, and I want you to do this summer, ask yourself these questions. Number 1, what is coaching? What is coaching? If you don't understand the profession you're in and what your purpose is of what it is, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. So it's really important that you understand. You have to answer this question for yourself. Years ago on the podcast, one of the first ones we ever did with our incredible faculty member, the great Billy Donovan, I asked him these same questions. And I've never heard anyone describe anything the way Billy did. And at the time, he was the University of Florida head coach, national champion. But what is coaching? I'm going to give you my answers, but I want you to put in for your answers, because it's not me getting an A in this. It's about you understanding yourself. What is coaching? Coaching is about taking players where they can't take themselves. Frankly, coaching and parenting is the same skill set. As a parent, your role in raising children is to take your children where they can't take themselves, from the time they're babies all the way up. Same thing with players. Every great player that you can name in any sport has a terrific coach that is guiding them through this process. Whether it's Patrick Mahomes, whether it's Michael Jordan, or whether it's Tiger Woods, it doesn't matter who the player. They have a great coach that's influential, that really helps them. So what is coaching? That's your first question. This is really important nowadays because we're having tremendous fallout in coaching. Really good people leaving the profession. Some are retiring, but some are leaving it because of problems of what's going on with players, parents, etc. So you must understand your purpose. Why do you coach? Why do you coach? Why did you get into this? If your answer is money, there's nothing wrong with money, obviously. But if that's your number one purpose, even if you're an NBA coach, and some of them now are making $16 and $18 million, or an NFL coach making $20 million, or a college football coach making $11 million, that's great that they're doing that. But I also love and respect the coach that's getting nothing almost for it, volunteering his time, if they're doing it for the right reason. So you have to ask your question, why am I doing this? I'm going to give you my answer. I learned a long time ago as a high school student, I had a phenomenal teacher. And the teacher was so good, I said, I want to be like that person. I want to be a teacher because that teacher was so influential. And man, I just loved the way he taught. And then he was a coach. And I said, the mastery of the way he could teach, the technical aspects of the sport, the way he could teach and influence us, the way he motivated us, the way he just had us believe in him. We found out through studies that the most influential person in a young student's life is either the high school teacher or the coach of that child. The two most influential people. Unfortunately, not the parents sometimes, even if you have two good parents. Okay, so the most influential person in my life, was Hubie Brown, my high school coach. Can you imagine 90-year-old Hubie Brown, ABC broadcaster, NBA coach, Hall of Famer, was my freaking coach from 9th and 10th grade. When I got to be around him, it just changed the way I thought. Most people don't know what the hell they're doing, sometimes into their 30s and 40s. I knew at 15 years old, I wanted to be like him. I knew I could not ever be as good as him, but I wanted to be a coach. I wanted to help kids. And he put me on a path to that I went to college just to be a high school coach. That's what I wanted to be. When there was an opening, when Brian Kelly left the University of Notre Dame to come down to LSU to be the new football coach, they interviewed Marcus Freeman, who was the defensive coordinator and who had never been a head coach. And Father John Jenkins was the president of the University of Notre Dame, and he asked him one question in the interview he had with Marcus Freeman. Why do you want to coach? And Marcus told him, I want to develop young people. I want to make them the best player they can, but I'm more concerned about developing them into being the best person they can, to become the best version of themselves, to maximize their potential. But when they leave Notre Dame or they leave pro football, they now can go on and live the next 50 years of their life in an incredible way. Marcus Freeman gets the job that day with a handshake immediately because he had the right answer. His purpose was spot on, especially for the University of Notre Dame. Third question you're going to answer is, why do you coach the way you coach? I think this is really important because we watch people on TV, we watch other coaches that we coach against, we see how they do, and we model behavior. Happens out the world in every aspect of life. There's coaches that yell, that scream. There's some that are soft-spoken. You watch, and by sport. I'm not just talking basketball. Most of the people that listen to this podcast think it's a basketball podcast. This is really a coaching podcast. It's for any sport. Why do you coach the way you coach? And you can be as tough as you want. You can be a screamer and all that, but you got to understand, when you do that with young people, we used to have a saying, tough love, tough love. John Gordon, our friend, he believes in love tough, that you have to love the person before you can be tough with them. And it's the same with your own children. You can be tough with them once they know you love them. If you just walk into a group that doesn't know you, don't have a relationship with, and you try to be tough with them, probably going to get turned off. So you have to understand that why you coach. And the best coaching advice that Hubie Brown ever gave me when I came to work for him with the Atlanta Hawks, Hubie said to me, who was very tough on our players, he saw that I was very nervous going into our first practice, and he just came over to me and said, "Hey, listen, do not try to be me. Be yourself." And that's one of the best coaching advices I've ever gotten in life is just be yourself. Be authentic, who you are. And I think that'll really be helpful. Next question that I want you to answer is, what does it feel like to be coached by me? So if you are one of those yellers and screamers and you're getting players or gals' faces all the time, you think it's just because you're the coach, you're allowed to do that? But put yourself in that player's spot. Think how they're feeling being coached by you. Maybe you embarrassing them every time they make a mistake. I drafted and coached Doc Rivers with the Atlanta Hawks, back in the early 80s. So we have just have an amazing relationship, and he's spoken at Coaching You probably 6 times. But one of the most profound things he ever said at one of our clinics in Las Vegas was simply this: coach each player like it's your own son or daughter. Wow. I had already been coaching probably for 40 years when he said that. It was one of the best things I had ever heard. Being a parent of 2, loving my kids, watching how other people coached my son and daughter, I said, that's the whole key right there. Coach other people's sons and daughters like you would want them to be coached by you. Treat them with that incredible respect and love. And, you can be very tough with them. You can be very demanding. And I think it's really, really important. So what does it feel like to be coached by me? It's a little bit of self-awareness, but I think it's so, so important. Here's your next question. Would I want to play for myself? Billy Donovan was a really, really tough college coach. I mean, he was on their ass when they messed up. But he told me, when I asked him this question, he said, yeah, I would love to play for me. And he had played for Rick Pitino in college at Providence. He said, yeah, I would, because I want someone that I know cares about me. And when I make a mistake, they let me know it. And then they correct it. And they help me get better. So I have no problem. So what he also said to them was, yeah, I want to play for myself. I'm very demanding, but I'm not demeaning. And I think that is so darn important. And it's the same thing as a parent. You be demanding as heck with your kids, but don't be demeaning to them. So you have a bunch of questions to answer. That's your starting point for your summer training of coaching. We're thrilled to have our longtime partners and friends at Dr. Dish Basketball on board as sponsors of the Coaching You podcast. Dr. Dish machines are undoubtedly the most user-friendly and advanced machines in the world of basketball today. Dr. Dish has completely revolutionized and reimagined the shooting machine to provide the best solution on the market. Join top programs around the world like Duke, North Carolina, Florida, and countless others and upgrade your shooting machine to Dr. Dish. Dr. Dish machines are the best way to increase purposeful reps in your program to get players better, faster, while tracking progress along the way. Dr. Dish provides so much more than just your standard shooting machines with custom training, pro trainers, and coaches on demand, real-time and detailed analytics, and top-of-the-line drills and workouts. If you're looking to take your program to the next level, look no further than Dr. Dish for the best basketball training machine in the world. If you have an old machine that's just collecting dust in your gym, did you know that you can trade that in to Dr. Dish for up to $1,500 off and get a new dish? Make sure to give our friends at Dr. Dish a follow at Dr. Dish B-Ball on Twitter and Instagram for great daily drills, workouts, tips, and inspiration. Or contact us at drdishbasketball.com. Don't forget to mention Coaching You or our podcast for $300 off your purchase. Coaches, are you looking to take your game preparation to the next level? Then Fast Model Sports is the perfect coaching software for you. With FastDraw, build an organized library of plays and drills and create professional playbooks to share with your players and staff. You can also download over 9,500 free plays and drills from our Playbank directly to your FastDraw account. Looking for a better way to build your scouting reports and want to include video? With FastScout, build custom scouting report templates to prepare your team best for each individual opponent. Plus, did you know with the latest updates from Fast Model Sports, you can now include video with your FastScout reports and share with your coaches and staff all within the FastScout mobile app. The combination of FastDraw and FastScout is by far the best way for you and your coaches to create winning game strategies and effectively communicate them to your team. Over 10,000 high school and youth coaches trust Fast Model Sports products to help their teams reach their goals. To order, go to fastmodelsports.com. Use code COACHINGU15 to get 15% off any FastDraw or FastScout products. Remember, go to fastmodelsports.com. Use code COACHINGU15 to get 15% off any FastDraw and FastScout products. Now, here we're going to go into some bullet points, borrowing from my former partner and one of my best friends in coaching is the great Kevin Eastman. You must understand, you must coach each player differently. If you're a basketball coach, you have 12 to 15 players on your team. Every one of them is different. And I always ask the question to coaches. If you're a married coach, if you have children, if you have more than one child, are each of the children the same? And I've never had anyone say, even if they're twins, yeah, both of my kids are the same. All three of them are the same. No, because they're all different. So can you imagine if you have 12 or 15 players? If you have 85 to 140 players at a Power 4 football team, every player is differently. You must coach them differently. Otherwise, you're not connecting with them. And that is one of the most important things. Now, do you know how good you have to be able to coach every single person differently? But look at it like this. You have a lot of friends. All of your friends, you don't treat every friend the same. You treat each of them differently based on who they are, how close you are to them, what their personality's like. And that's the same purpose. But it's so many people. Now, in the old days, the real old days, parents raised their kids the same. If they had 2, 3, 4 kids, every one of them is the same. Coaches coached everyone the same. But you know what? As we progress, we figured out the ability to connect with them or your students in class is so important that you have to understand and be able to master how to coach each one differently. Here's a little thing that I do. Try to shout praise as often as possible to your players. Shout praise. But I whisper criticism. I never really want to embarrass a single player individually in front of his peers. Because then it's Chuck Daly used to have a wonderful saying. He says, don't put scars on your players. Don't put any scars on them. They stay there forever. They're like tattoos now, right? You don't want to do that. So you shout praise and whisper criticism. But now when you're coaching the whole team and you want to, it's a different deal. You can criticize. You don't have to whisper criticism to a team, but don't personalize it. So if our team's not playing defense, you just say, hey, we got to play better D. We got to become more physical. You can get on them as a group. But you don't say, hey, Johnny, you're playing like crap on defense, and now you've embarrassed him. And the rest of you aren't doing well either. Make it a general statement as opposed to individualizing it. Now, the thing now that I think is, Dr. Tim Elmore, one of the really geniuses in education nowadays, works for John Maxwell in Atlanta, growingleaders.com, just incredible human being. He has taught us at Coaching You so much about how to coach the different age groups. And if you're coaching high school and college players, you're in that Gen Z group. Rookies in the NBA, Gen Z. Some of the older players, a little bit different. But the Gen Z group. It's a very fascinating group right now. But you don't be critical of them. Embrace them, but figure out how to reach them, how to connect with them. So study, go online, study, listen to Tim's podcast, and read his, emails that he sends out a couple of times a week. But here's the one I want to get you on: attention span. The attention span of Gen Z player nowadays is 5 seconds. So between 5 and 17 seconds, that is the attention span you have. So in the old days, you'd have coaches that would come in and start talking to the team for 30 minutes, an hour, do an hour film session. You lost your group. And they say, well, I'm not so sure that. Well, just sit there with one of your children or one of your players and watch them on their phone, their beautiful smartphone, and watch what they do and how many times they change the screen, go through things like that. And also watch them sitting there, watching them watch TV and watch them change channels. You can't even see what's up next because they've switched the channels so often. So it's really important that you really figure out how to coach them. How much do you talk to them? And do you listen to them? It's an absolutely fascinating thing, but Gen Z is a real thing. And if you're at the AAU, high school, college level, you must master this to fully develop yourself. Another thing I want to talk about is players make mistakes all the time. We had an NBA playoff game this year where one of the best teams to reach the conference finals had 22 turnovers in one game. 22. Awful lot. NBA teams average 11 or 12. 22 in one game. How do you handle each mistake that's made? Do you yell and scream at the player? What do you do? How do you do that? And how do you handle when a player commits a turnover, misses a shot, plays poor defense? I learned a while back that you have 2, 3, or 4 seconds to respond to that. And it's so critical to what's going to happen with the player and his next play. So you have 2, 3, or 4 seconds to coach that player. Are you going to teach them, correct them, encourage them, or destroy them? Many destroy. My whole thing in coaching is, how do I give them confidence? You must teach your teammates that when one player makes a mistake, a bad foul, a turnover, a terrible shot, that the other players, his peers, help coach him by encouraging him by A, let's go, get back on D, let's get to the next play, we'll get it next time, rather than, that's a shit shot, oh man, that was terrible, and now they're adding fuel to the fire besides you, the coach. Really think about that. Work on that this summer if you're coaching in a team camp with a high school coach, if you're coaching an AAU team, or just even your practices or off-season workouts with your team. I think you'll see it. Practice that now so that it'll become a habit for yourself when the season starts next fall. I think it's really, really important that you define roles. As a coach, I found this to be one of the biggest weaknesses we have. We expect everyone to understand their role. Over 90% of the NBA players are role players. The best players in the world, the top 450 players in the world, 425 of them are role players. There's less than 30 stars in the league. Less than 30. So you have to figure out what each one's role is. But when you tell them their role, you have to break it down and show them why it's his role and why it's going to help our team be better and why he's so important. I've had 3 players that I've coached that were all defensive team, were players of the year defensively that are in the Basketball Hall of Fame. 2 of them, I never called one play for them while I coached them in the NBA. Dennis Rodman and Ben Wallace. Neither guy. They didn't need any plays for them because they were great defenders, great rebounders, great shot blockers. They were hustle players. They were great screeners. They did all the things they didn't need the ball. And so that was their role. They embraced it. You have to sell every day. You have to get buy-in. You know, I always say that, and it's I think it's really a cool statement. To get buy-in, your players must believe in what you're talking about. To get them to believe we're going to be a good defensive team, they got to believe you that that's important to become so to get the buy-in that you need, because you're selling. Coaching might as well be called salesman also. I'm a salesman of basketball. So I think it's really, really important that you do this. The other thing I think it's really, it's important is that as a coach at the high school, AAU, high school, college, you're a dream maker. You got to help people reach their dreams. I used to really take pride in that I was a dream maker. And I think this is really one of the most important things that you do. So we have a lot of things that we talk about. Now I want to share with you, I think, something that's really, really important for you. And that's the part of the keys. I've defined them really as, the keys to becoming an effective leader or coach. This is what this position has become nowadays. To be a coach, whether you're assistant coach, head coach, man, woman, and it doesn't matter the sport. This is what the job has come down to. It's about leadership. You have to be a leader if you're going to be a coach. You're in charge of a group. They want to follow you. I believe in servant leadership. One of my favorite players I've ever coached is Conzo Martin. Conzo played for me in the CBA, got called up to the NBA on 2 occasions. When he finishes playing for me, plays in Europe and everything, he comes to me and says, I want to be a coach. Wow. Honored. Played for a great college coach in Gene Cady. Teammates with the great Matt Painter at Purdue. He said, I want to be a coach. Give me, and so he got into coaching, became a head coach. Incredible. And a couple of years ago, Zach and I were at the University of Missouri when he had, Michael Porter Jr. As a freshman. And we're out there and we spent a few days with him working with his team on developing his team. And he said to me, Coach, you're the best foot washer I've ever known. I said, what the hell are you talking about? I didn't understand where he was coming from. And he's very spiritual. And he said, in the Bible, he said, Jesus was a foot washer. He washed all the apostles' feet. And he said, you're a great foot washer. You serve us. And it's the greatest compliment I've ever gotten coaching. That is servant leadership at its highest form. You want to be a foot washer. You want to serve your players. You're not above them. And as he explained to me, to this day, he said, Jesus had 12 dysfunctional assistant coaches, but yet he had the largest following of all time and really developed the greatest coaching network of all time. I said, wow, that is so powerful. So leadership is so important. You have to love, serve, and care for your players, okay? The second thing nowadays you must master as a coach is communication, the art of communication, how to connect with your players, how to connect with your staff, how to connect to the people that are important to your program. If you're a college coach, to alumni, to fans, etc. High school level, to the parents. Biggest problem for a high school coach, parents. Second biggest problem, referees. You got to learn to connect and be able to communicate with those people. Third thing that you need to have to be an effective coach is competency. This is something you can work on. How do I become better at my craft? How do I study? One of the best coaches in America, college coaches, studies more Coaching You videos than anyone that we know of now, because he wants to constantly get better. The number one coach in Europe studies his Coaching You Plus more than any other one of our customers in Europe. These are going to be Hall of Fame coaches because they have an immense desire, insatiable desire to win and get better and to be able to better serve their players. So you must be competent, because if not, your players, I don't care what level, how old they are, AAU, high school, college, I don't care what their SATs or grade point average are. They know if you can coach or can't coach. I'm telling you flat out. I've had it in the NBA. You freeze in a timeout. They go, that's it. This guy don't know what the hell he's doing. The other thing you want is credibility. You have to get credibility with your players. However you desire, however you can master and get that. Credibility, it comes because you're a phenomenal teacher. You can really teach. You can coach. Relationship-wise, players believe in you. You don't have to be a championship-level coach to get credibility, but you have to have it. It's so important. Next one, integrity. You have to be truthful. If you lie to one of your players, you say, hey, and it can be simple stuff. You tell them one thing and you don't do it. You must make sure. Don't tell them something and it not to be true. The next thing is trust. Trust is the highest form of human currency. There's nothing more valuable. So many relationships are made through trust and are broken through it. You must have that with your players and your fellow coaches. The next one is love. And if you're a male coach coaching male basketball, you must love your players. I can't emphasize that enough. That is so, so important that you love your players, because if you don't, you will never get that deep relationship. I have players that played for me 30, 35 years ago in the NBA that talk to me. And every one of the conversations and with Coach, I love you. This is 60-year-old men, 50-year-old men saying they love you because of the relationship you formed. I'm not putting them in and out of the game, calling plays for them now. It's that bond that we had for years. That's what you want. You want to form a relationship that goes forever. The eighth thing is serve. Understand, like we talked about leadership, it's about serving your players, serving the coaches you work with. If you're an assistant coach, serve your head coach. If you're a head coach, serve your players, serve your other coaches, serve the people you work for, and care. Make sure, ninth number is care. Make sure you care about your people, that you know everything about them. Understand when they are having problems at home. Understand if a parent or a sibling or anyone is sick. So, so important. Now, one of the things that someone emailed me to talk about is, Coach, over the summer, everyone talks about culture. How do we develop culture? How do we get our people to improve over the summer? How does that happen? And I think this is a real thing for us. And so I think that's one of the areas that we really try to work on, in the off season, is developing our players. Okay, so here's one of the team building exercises that I absolutely love. It's called the 5 H's. Here's the 5 H's. Number 1, it's heritage. Number 2, it's hero. Number 3, it's heartbreak. Number 4, it's highlight. Number 5 is hope. Heritage, hero, heartbreak, highlight, and hope. Now, what do we do with this? Okay, it's really simple. What I want is for each player and staff member, coach, staff member, you take one of the H's a week. Great to do in the off season, especially if you're in the summer, and you spend, each player or staff member talks 1 minute only, maximum 1 minute on each of the H's. So the first week we're going to do heritage. What is heritage? Heritage is your background, your history, where you came from. You talk about your family. And you just tell about it. Hey, I have a mom. I'm a high school kid. I have a mom, dad. We moved here from Ohio. We now live in Georgia. My dad does this. My mom is this. I have 3 brothers, 2 sisters, etc. And you talk about it. And you tell them a little bit about it. I have had some of the most incredible things just coming through that one, where you're really just finding out, you're doing discovery on your people. I have players that have played in the pros together for 5, 6, 7 years. They don't know anything about the other person, about their family, about anything, because we never did this. And I do an exercise with them, and all of a sudden, I never knew that about you. And they had played together for 7 years. I think it's a remarkable. Every now and then in the college level, it becomes really amazing, because especially if you're coaching international players, and all of a sudden you have a player, let's say from a foreign country. I had a kid from Mali, Africa, and all of a sudden you find out he hasn't been home to Africa in 9 years, hasn't seen his mom or dad in 9 freaking years, or his brothers and sisters, because he couldn't go back. Now, and I just pictured that as I'm sitting there and listening to him and saying, how could I ever be away from my mom or dad for 9 years at 18, 19 years old? Absolutely amazing. So you find out about them. And 1 minute only, when the person finishes, this is really important, no matter how they do, sometimes they're tear-jerking thing, have everyone clap for the player. Have everyone, or the staff member, have them clap as a sign of respect. It's very, very important. The second H I use is hero. Everyone has a hero in life. My hero, when I did this last, was my wife, because she had done everything. She had to raise our kids and stuff like that, and she was my hero. If I had done this when I was in high school or college, it would have been my folks, my parents, etc. So it changes, and sometimes it could be a brother or sister, maybe has a terminal disease and stuff, or a special needs brother or sister and stuff like that. I think it's a very powerful thing. The third one is heartbreak. Every one of us in life has had something heartbreaking, but the more we know about it, the better we can coach them. So you let them talk about that, and that can be incredibly emotional. You have to, as the leader, as the coach, show incredible empathy to them as they do it. And that's why it's so important that you let your players clap for them at the end. Sometimes the heartbreak has been so bad, the story, literally the whole team would get up and hug the player when they finished, which is, you talk about team building, it's right before your eyes. Highlight. Everyone has one in life. It could be just making a team. It could be, doing well at a summer camp. It could be, highlight could be, getting good grades in school. NBA players, we've had highlights of having their first child, getting married, things like that. Whatever it is, and then the fifth one is hope. What is their hope? What do they want to, that's their future. That's where you can now become the dream maker for them. It's really powerful. And I've never had it not work with any team I've shared it with or performed it with. I think you'll really love it. Last summer, I got to spend a couple of days with an amazing friend, the great John Maxwell, the great author, and speaker, maybe the most influential person, in coaching. And what makes him amazing at 78 years of age is his ability and desire to learn and get better. I am there, sitting there in a very small, intimate gathering with him to just try to learn from him. And he comes up to me and says, Brendan, he says, you're a world championship coach. You coached a dream team, the best players in the world, Michael Jordan. You have to teach me how to be a better coach. I became speechless. He said, I have the largest coaching business in the world. He has 67,000 members in his coaching organization that coach people around the world in over 200 companies. You need to help me become better. You talk about humbling experience. That's what the best person in the world at what he does. He wanted to get better. So I asked him, what are his secrets? And he said, leaders put people first. And he said to me, he said, the question he often asked himself, he said, could I or should I? I said, wow. He said, all the time, he said, my goal is in coaching is about adding value to people. You win, I win. And I just found that he said, words are so powerful, but actions are what you judge me on. And I just found that I understood when I finished with him, till I see him again in a few weeks, how powerful and what an influence he is on people around the world, because he's trying to get better. And I'm saying he sold more books on management, leadership, and anyone in the world. He's also spoken to more people probably than anyone in the world, but he's trying to become better. And at 78, he's not slowing down. That was an education itself. And he said to me, just share everything you learn with people. And that's what we're trying to do. So this is something that I wanted to share with you. And I thought the time was appropriate because we're starting the summer soon. And you have so much time to get ready for next season. So I think it's really, really important that you continue to get better and stuff. And all we try to do at Coaching You is to serve. Podcast is just one little form of it. But the thing that we do, the sponsors that we have, sure, they're basketball sponsored, Noah Basketball, Fast Model, Dr. Dish. Those are all great things to help you become a better player, for your players to become better. But our whole mission is to help you get better. That's why we coach you. Our Coaching You Plus app is so powerful for you. I always wanted to, and Zach has worked tirelessly on this for years, is how do we better serve our community? And that's what we're trying to do. We have a lot of great events coming up during the summer and the fall, and we'll try to keep serving you. Till next week, this is the Coach, Brendan Suhr.